Howdy everybody, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. This is a Let's Play that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. You might have caught it in my channel trailer that I had a little bit of KSP thrown in there, because I've been wanting to do this, well, since I started the channel. I love KSP. It is my favorite video game of all time. I've played it an absolutely disgusting number of hours, enough to make me regret that Steam actually keeps track of them. But I kind of stopped playing right around patch 1.05. Various things happened all together at once that kind of knocked me out of the game for a little bit. Mostly, my mods all got messed up. The game updated to a new version. All my mods tanked. I didn't really feel like going back through all the hassle setting up all my mods. But I have now. I finally went back and did it. Got all my mods straightened out. Got everything running just the way I kind of wanted it. And here we go. We're going to play some Kerbal Space Program. But we're going to not just muck around. We've got a goal. Alright, so let's go in and start a game. Let's start a brand new career mode game. And we're going to call it Kerbal Kolonization. Because our goal in this game is going to be to put a manned, well, Kerbal presence on every single body in the solar system. Yes, including Eve. Probably last. But yes, we're going to be setting up a manned presence on every single world, and not just a one and done kind of thing where we drop off a Kerbal, plant a flag, and kiss them goodbye, but actually building sustainable bases, ships that can travel back and forth to keep everybody resupplied. A true extrasolar science / space program. So basically the kind of thing that I always wish NASA had done for real. So without further ado, we're going to keep everything pretty much stock for the career mode, because I've modded everything else. So here we go. Thank you, Werner. I have played this game way too much. Okay, here we go. Here we are at the Space Center, a relatively modest looking affair at the moment, but we're going to get moving onwards and upwards. So the very first thing we're going to do is go in and see about taking some contracts. Alright, let's take a look here. There's no possible way I could actually get a there's no possible way I could get an observatory in orbit right now. So let's just focus on, there we go, take ourselves some of these very basic contracts. Just enough to get us some money. Alright, get out of here. Alright, so we need to launch our first spacecraft and gather some scientific data from Kerbin. Here we go. Alright, and here we're going to speed things up because you don't really want to watch me build this little nothing ship. In fact, most of the time when I go to build ships, we're going to speed things up so that you don't have to sit through the whole adventure. You know, unless there's some interesting thing that I'm building or there's some interesting technique that gets used. Alright. Oh, that is an auspicious looking scorch mark. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and take ourselves a crew report. And we'll keep hold of that. And we'll observe the mystery goo. And we'll keep hold of that. Grab our science experiment. And now we are all set. So throttle up, and here we go. Oh, okay. Whoop. And we will take some observations as we are flying. There we go. Delicious, delicious science. And now we'll speed things up while the ship takes its ballistic path up and right back down. At the start of every career mode, this is pretty much your inaugural flight, no matter what you're going to do, just because of the text you got available. So it's kind of tradition. But there we go. And there we go. I wasn't worried. Okay, I was actually terrified when that thing was not going to flip back around. And oh, well, What would be a Kerbal flight without an explosion? Alrighty. Do not have myself flags yet. Well, okay. And get back aboard, and let's recover it. Alrighty, 31 or 20 science earned. Fantastic. And we brought all of our parts back. Alright. And Jebediah Kerman earned himself a little XP. Nice. Yeah, here's one of my mods, Final Frontier. I really like this one. What Final Frontier does is it adds ribbons for everybody. As you can see here, Jebediah just got a research ribbon for getting 10 research points. First landing on Kerbin, a G-Force ribbon for 7 Gs. Solid rocket boosters are fun. Altitude record and speed record. Yeah, I like Final Frontier because it kind of, just recognizes what they accomplished, and you can actually go back in and view everything that they've done later on. But for right now, we have some science. So let's take a look here. Basic rocketry. Sure, why not? Engineering 101. Hood ornament. Yeah. What is that? That is the, I think that's the Kerbal inventory system. Joking around. Yeah. Stack decouplers. Awesome. Yep, some communicatrons and a thermometer. Awesome. One of the things in this game is you always want to get as many science experiments as possible, because the more science you can do, the faster you unlock nodes, the faster you can get more science. Just speeds everything up. Alright, let's take a look here. Oh, and speaking of which, there's a barometer. We're going to want to use that. Additional parachutes. Always good. Oh yeah, there's a DM Magic, or D Magic actually. His science experiments package is installed, so we're going to see some of those additional science experiments coming up. And life support equipment. Alright, service bays, heat panels, excellent, definitely. Alright, so now let's go and take a look and see what new contracts we can get. Alright, part testing. These are always good for quick and easy money. Swivel at the launch site. Let's see. Only one at the launch site. But we can do that probably with our next exploration mission. So we'll take that one. Escape the atmosphere. Yeah, we can do that. So let's go take a look and see how we're going to escape the atmosphere, which is 70 kilometers. And once again, we'll kick it into high gear while I build the ship. Something that I like about career mode that is more fun than sandbox is this feeling when you're first starting out in career mode and you don't have all the parts. In fact, you have only a very small selection of parts that aren't really that great, but they're all you got. And you have different things that you've got to accomplish with just these few parts. Like right now, just trying to get up into space with nothing but these piddly little fuel tanks that are usually just used on the very upper stages of satellites or one-man command pods to finish them, getting them up in orbit. But I've got to take those little fuel tanks and use them to get all the way to space. And that's a fun challenge. That's something that I think career mode really shines with, is when you don't have all these parts and you've got to make do with what you got. So if you ever do career mode, do yourself a favor. Don't give yourself a ton of science at the start. Just trust me. Alright, so here we are with the mighty Juno 2. Going to try to escape the atmosphere for the first time, as well as test the engine. Oh, hello. Oh, okay, so test equals launch. Yeah, fine. Alright, here we go. And since right now we do not have the Delta V to make it into orbit, we're going to be focusing on getting ourselves at least up to 70 kilometers and a meter. If we can do that, let's see where we are. Where's the fuel training? Equally. Alright. Looking pretty good. setting all kinds of altitude records. I'm feeling a little cocky. See if we can't get this thing a little downrange. Whew. We are going to more than make it up to 70 kilometers. Alrighty, so the booster is spent. We've completed the first contract. Take some scientific measurements. Oh, we are actually in space now. Huh. Alright, so we need to catch that pressure on the way back down into the upper atmosphere. We will observe the mystery goo in space. Yep, got that in space. Upper atmosphere. Alright, which means we need to collect the temperature from the upper atmosphere, as well as getting ourselves a nice crew report. Because right now, Valentina's got herself a fantastic view. How are we looking on electrical charge? We're looking okay on electrical charge. Huh. Oh, right. There we go. Kick that away. We're going to wind up needing this heat shield because we are getting up to 150 kilometers. And Valentina's got herself a rather impressive view. Man. I remember the first time I played the game, I had not figured out how to get into orbit. I understood the math. I understood the basic concept of how you're supposed to get into orbit with a spacecraft, but it's one of those things that is so counterintuitive that I struggled tremendously to do it. And ultimately, I did wind up getting into orbit after playing the game for probably 10 hours straight. Well, not straight, but after 10 hours before I was able to get myself into orbit. And it was hilarious because the rocket I used was just huge, and the orbit I got into was 660 kilometers at its apoapsis and about like 90 at its periapsis. So it was a just ludicrously eccentric orbit, just far beyond anything necessary just to get up there. And I dang near didn't make it back. Because like so many other people, or like so many other times when you're playing KSP, I messed my staging up. And I had a small pod, much like this, with just a little smaller fuel tank and a small engine for orbital maneuvering. And I was getting ready to do my deorbit burn, and I hadn't realized that my stack decoupler and my engine were on the same setup. And as a consequence, I hit that button to fire up my engine to prepare for a re-entry, and I watched as my engine and my fuel tank just drifted slowly away. So right there, on my very first time in orbit, I got to partake of the age-old Kerbal tradition of getting out and pushing. I actually got Jeb out of the capsule, moved around to the back side of the ship, and then used my RCS jets to slow me down just enough to make re-entry. Yeah, in KSP, getting out and pushing is an absolutely valid strategy. Alright, let's get the bay closed and get ourselves properly oriented for re-entry, because we are coming in straight down. So this is not going to be the most spirited re-entry, but it's definitely going to be a hot one. Alright, Valentina's loving it, as any proper Kerbal knot should. Look at that re-entry effect. Beautiful. Back when they first added re-entry heating and made it an genuine thing you're going to have to worry about, because back when you first started playing the game, you didn't care about reentry. You could have any shaped object because you just didn't generate any heat on reentry. It didn't cause any damage, so it didn't really matter. So we had all kinds of bizarre contraptions. Pop the drogue chute. But I've since learned to love having the actual reentry heating, heat shields, all that other jazz. Alright, getting down close to the surface. Pop the main chutes. Slow ourselves way down. Last thing I want to do is hit the water and lose my science bay. Thankfully, they've really toned down the water. Used to be, it was safer to crash into the ground. There we go. It used to be safer to crash into the ground than to land in the water. Ah, there we go. Everything is survived. Successful mission for Valentina. Alright. Recover the vessel. And on top of some completed contracts, look at that. 70 science. Beautiful. Alright. And we did toss the engine and fuel tank away, so that wound up burning up on reentry, but we still recovered most of the rest of the parts, and Valentina got herself a little experience. Beautiful. And she also got herself a nice bevy of ribbons. Research 2 for 50 science points. Splashdown, landing on Kerbin. A G-Force ribbon. Only 6 Gs. Jeb's got the 7. But she gets the first Kerbal in Space ribbon. Way to go, Valentina. Significant contracts, as well as some distance and speed and altitude records. Fantastic. Zones. Alright, so let's go take a look at the administration building. And one of the mods that I have added is the Strategia mod, which provides a lot more strategies to exploit as you are traveling around. So let's take a look. Right now we can only have a single strategy. So let's take a look here. The Moon, Minimus, Eve, Duna, Drez, Elu, Jewel. Lots of options for going different places. Those are crewed missions. We have uncrewed missions to the same bodies, including a chance to bullseye a few places. Finances, science, public relations, and operations. I'm honestly going to go science is probably going to be the place to go. Let's see, if I want to get the most research possible done out there, we need to explore as many new biomes as we can. Government grants from exploration programs ultimately help us fund further exploration and research. Let's see here. Plus 15,000 funds when science transmitted recovered from new biomes. Well, that's nice. Let's see, where are we at on our reputation? I can never read that. There? Yeah, reputation's always kind of eluded me. Alright, so 15,000 funds when new science from a new biome. That could be quite good. Especially, if we go on a science fiesta around the KSC, this could be a ton of cash. See here, we don't have enough reputation. Big funds from new places and biomes, and huge. Alright, probe frenzy. And local science. Let's take a look here. There are so many research opportunities right in our backyard. We should focus on local research to bootstrap our program. 20% bonus to KSC science. And one of the funny things about the area around the KSC is every single building at the KSC is its own individual biome and can get science from all of them. So this actually could be a huge boost to science. So we are probably actually going to do that one before too long. I could do this one, get a ton of cash from all the new biomes around KSC, just hitting them one at a time, and then pop down and do local science. Let's take a look. Added rep. Of course, honestly, I don't know how much rep really matters. It's never seemed to have mattered that much. Operations. 50% contract to tourism and surveys. For station contracts when an engineer is present. 50% rewards for science collection when a scientist is present. That's actually interesting. Because if we had a scientist, we could throw the scientist in there. And plus 50% rewards for science collection. Oh, science collection contracts. Alright, right now, since we're hitting a lot of new biomes, we're going to go with Boldly Go. Yes. So we have got that going. Alright. Well, you know what? First, let's get some more parts. Bigger fuel tanks. Definitely. Nose cones. Oh, and a decoupler. Big time. Alright, got 55. You know, life support. We're not really to the point where we need much in the way of life support yet. But I could definitely use some batteries and the first ScanSat parts and the Science Junior. Oh, and the experiment storage unit. Oh, that one. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. Definitely take that research node. Alright. Exploration. Let's focus on exploration. Orbit Kerbal. You know what? This is definitely doable. So we're going to orbit Kerbal. Alright, so let's kick back in high gear again and get this sucker ready for orbit. And the first thing I'm going to do is put in some batteries because I don't trust the internal battery of the command pod to make it all the way around the planet a couple times. Second of all, we're going to take advantage of the new science storage bay to put our science experiments in the section of the ship that we're going to ditch. That way we don't have to haul all that mass back and we can get by with fewer parachutes. Because part count is going to start to become a problem with this rocket. The early vehicle assembly building is limited to, I believe, 30 parts on your rocket. And when you start putting in enough science experiments to hit things like the mystery goo and the pressure barometer multiple times, it eats up your part count very quickly. Especially since right now I'm having to rely on stacking together a bunch of rather small fuel tanks. But we're going to see what we can do to get it done because, you know, like I said before, it's kind of fun to try to make things work with this. Smaller part count. And we'll get rid of that old booster and go in here and build ourselves a new one. Since we have such a large upper stage, we can get by with a smaller early stage. Just stack a couple of those together, plus one of those LVT, 45s? The swivels. Yeah, good, dependable rocket. And now, speaking of dependable, we're going to throw on some solid rocket boosters. When you're playing early on, don't be afraid of solid rocket boosters. They are dirt cheap and can provide you with a lot of Delta V. Really learn to love solid rocket boosters through playing the career mode. But there we go. We are just about ready to go. Alright, and here we are on our historic first Kerbal in orbit. On our first Kerbal in orbit. So here we go. Everything's set up. Stability assist on. And here we go. Now we're going to make the first part of this ascent on purely the SRBs because they have got more than enough horsepower to get this ship moving. And by the time they start to run empty, we are going to be screaming. We're going to start off our ascent going pretty much straight up because right now without this engine running, the only authority we have for directing the rocket is coming from the SAS, the reaction wheels in the crew cabin. So we're going to keep this pretty gentle for now. Oh, dang it. Whoa. Can we? No, dang it. Oh, where are we at? Holy cow, where are we at? We are nowhere near fast enough. Man, having to skip on the parts count to get rid of the fins really hurt because this thing is not easy to control. It's got very little authority. What happened to the SRBs? Alright, let's see here. Picking up a good amount of speed, but our first stage booster is about to go out, and I do not think yet we do not have anywhere near enough in this second stage booster to make it. So yeah, right now we're going to settle in for a basic flight. Take some readings of Kerbals. Kerbin's upper atmosphere. And we've already taken mystery goo, but hey, there's a little bit of science left to be gained. Where are we at? Well, our apoapsis is going to take us outside the atmosphere. Unfortunately, it's not going to make any difference. We don't have anywhere near enough delta V remaining after the acrobatics to make it all the way to orbit. Yep, there we go. We are out. So, yeah, this was supposed to be our orbital maneuvering stage. So that is just completely out. We're going to apoapsis at 188 kilometers. What a pity. Alright, but you know what? Since we're here, another one of those beautiful DM orbital, DM magic science parts, the magnetometer boom. Go ahead and take some data. And we'll take a little material bay. Oh, that's going to bug me. Alright. So we have gotten... Oh, no, I'm not... I just realized I have this thing set, so we're not going to take any of these science instruments down, so we're not even going to be able to get any science from after we splash down. So, oh, jeez. This mission is just a failure. But I do get to make use of this beautiful part right here. The experiment storage unit. One button, collect it all, and look at that. All the science data is pulled out of the instruments and into this storage device. Back in the day, I do remember going through this and just having to EVA out, go to each experiment, take the data, haul it back to the capsule. It really made a lot of things kind of a pain, and especially for unmanned probes, it was just impossible to make an unmanned probe and then just bring back a small return probe. You had to bring the entire probe back because you had no way to transfer the science to like a control pod or command pod or something. So if you had an unmanned ship, you had to bring all of this back. But thanks to this experiment storage unit, that's all we have to bring back. So let's go ahead and time warp ahead to re-entry. Oh, we're actually going to make it all the way to Kerbin's dark side. Alright, coming back in. First thing we want to do is unlock the battery. Because, let's see here, how's this one doing? Still has plenty of charge, not a big deal, but I kind of made it a habit whenever I fly is to lock the battery on the command pod. Just turn it off so that there's no battery drain, so that when coming for re-entry, you still got charge. I've made more than a few hair-raising re-entries where I had almost no charge in my command pod, and therefore trying to keep myself oriented in the proper way was dang near impossible. But let's go ahead and get set up for re-entry. Kick that away, and go ahead and get ourselves pointed prograde, or pointed retrograde actually. And let's go. Beautiful re-entry heating effects. Well, hey, good news is looks like we're going to land, come down pretty close to land, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time swimming. That's nice. Alright. Decelerated, and then now just that long, long fall back to the ground. You know, it's something, before playing this game, I hadn't really considered it, but the Apollo astronauts would have had a heck of a time between when they actually made re-entry and then when their chutes actually deployed, which means for tens of thousands of feet, they were just falling through the air with no real parachute slowing them down or anything like that. And part of me is just terrified at that idea. But here we go, coming down. Deploy the parachute. Oh, sounded like our orbital stage made landing. So here we go. Coming down under our chute. Unfortunately, we are not going to have made a successful orbit this episode. That'll have to come next time. But we at least got ourselves some science, got ourselves a little bit of interesting work done, even if we didn't get everything we wanted to. Oh, Oh, there was the re-entry stage, or the orbital maneuvering stage. Whew, that thing made a mess. Hurry this on down to the ground. And there we go, splashdown. Jeb has returned, and you know, actually, now that I think about it, this probably means Valentina might be the first Kerbal in orbit. And hey, you know, got a good chunk of science. Even if we didn't complete all the objectives we wanted to, we still managed to make it our way into low Kerbal space, and therefore got some good information from the new materials science experiments. Fun's not too bad. And Jeb got himself a little more XP, along with some new ribbons, research, splashdown, Mach 2, or flying horizontally. Huh. Did we? Well, actually, I guess, yeah, at some point during the wild tumbling, we were probably horizontal. Distance record, and 10% solid fuel booster for using a ship with 10% solid fuel. Alright, let's go and take a look at the research options. We have those life support, which we don't need. We're not going to be in orbit long enough yet. We have some nice little setups of our... have some nice little avionics. Some general aviation. I am not an airplane guy. I'll be the first to admit that. I am just not an airplane guy. And storage lockers, structural fuselage, big decouplers. Yeah, the struts, maybe. Struts could be in the launch stability enhancers. Struts might be worth it. And then some additional engines, some cryogenic engines. Oh, that one right there. You know what? That seals the deal. Slightly bigger fuel tank and a good orbital engine. So we'll take that. And I think that's going to do it for this episode. I'll catch you guys next time. This has been Bogatir. Bye.